very good morning to you. This is Corporate Governance Platform on ECO 89.7 FM. This program is sponsored by the Institute of Chartered Secretaries and Administrators of Nigeria. I'm Olabisi Omidiri. Today on Corporate Governance Platform, our focus is on compliance as key in principal corporate governance. Compliance as key in principal corporate governance. And my guest this morning is Mrs. Bilikisu WUNMI OMITOOGUN, ACIS, current chairperson, Finance Committee, ICSAN, Lagos State Chapter, Administrative and Finance Manager, Accountant, Noah, KCOA GIZ. Good morning, ma'am. Welcome to Corporate Governance Platform.
Good morning. Thank you.
Right. On this show, I also have with me, by my side, Mr. Kayode Ketefe, FCIS, Head of Research, ICSAN. Good morning, sir.
Good morning, BC. Good morning to you, our guest, Mrs. Omawumi Bilikisu Omitogun, FCIS. And good morning to you, all our listeners.
Thank you.
Don't forget, our focus is on compliance as key principle in corporate governance. Compliance as key principle in corporate governance. Starting off with this one, ma'am. What exactly does the term compliance refer to?
Thank you. Yeah, compliance is the state of being in accordance with established guidelines or specification, or it is the process of becoming so. Compliance simply means the process of adhering to a set of rules such as policy, standard, specification, and laws. Here we have two types of compliance. We have the regulatory compliance and legal compliance. Regulatory compliance simply means abiding to the rules and regulation guiding the law environment. Such law emanates from government and regulatory bodies such as ICSAN. Then we also have corporate laws. These are the rules and regulations that guides the behavior of an organization and the environment. Thank you.
Amazing. So why is compliance such an important issue in corporate governance?
As we can see, with the definition of what compliance is, now let's look at what corporate governance is in this regard to be able to see how it's compliance very important in corporate governance. Corporate governance is an application of best management practice. Here, looking at what compliance means, when you have set your best practices, your principles, we have some principles guiding the corporate governance environment. We have the principle of accounting, accountability, we have the principle of transparency, we have the principle of fairness and principle of responsibility. Now, looking at how to embed compliance into corporate governance, it simply means that for all these rules that has been set by corporate governance, it then means that organization should ensure that these rules that will enable sustainability of their organizations should be complied with. Thank you.
All right. Non-compliance can spell doom for an organization. Can you please explain this statement in the context of corporate governance?
In the context of corporate governance, non-compliance can spell doom in such a way that when an organization has refused to abide by the rules or regulation that has been set in the industry, or if they have refused to follow what the corporate governance has defined for their business environment, it may lead to reputational loss. and it can also lead to law case and so many other reputational laws that can stop the business for their continuity.
So let's look at legal compliance. I need you to explain legal compliance, corporate governance compliance, and ethical compliance.
Yeah, legal compliance is a process by which a company adheres to the complex rules, policies, and procedures that regulate the business practices in a particular jurisdiction. Then, coming to look at corporate governance, it is the principle that guides actions and the set of practical actions that must be taken in order to participate in the business environment. Here, looking at ethical compliance simply means the intent to do what is right. It helps to create a positive environment in an organization. Ethical compliance is done for the benefit of both the organization and also the employee, the workers in such organization. The principle 24 of the Code of Corporate Governance also talk a lot about the ethical compliance in an organization. Thank you.
All right, then. It's still Corporate Governance Platform on Equator 9.7 FM, a program sponsored by ICSAN. My guest is Mrs. Omowumi OMITOOGUN, ACIS, and we are looking at compliance as a key principle in corporate governance. Moving ahead, what relationship does compliance have with notion of sustainability?
Starting with what the Code of Corporate Governance Principle 26 said, it talked about it says that when an organization comply and pay adequate attention to the issue of sustainability, such as the environment, the social environment, governance, occupational and community health and safety, it helps such organization to live long in business.
Okay, so now, why is it often said in corporate governance parlance that tick box approach to compliance is a bad practice?
First and foremost, let's look at what tick box means. Tick box refers to a way of doing things that involves following rules or instruction that are the same in every case, with no possibility of someone using their own knowledge or ability to make decisions. So what corporate governance is saying there, corporate governance balance is saying here that it is not good enough to just be ticking the box without recourse to the value that is being derived.
Okay. So will you say a chartered secretary is sufficiently well trained and competent to be a compliance officer or manager?
Definitely yes. Reason is that corporate secretaries have been charged with the duty to ensure the effective administration of an organization. A company secretary can serve as compliance officer because we have been trained to ensure that all laws that will lead to sustainability of organization, that will lead to the continuity of such organization, are being embedded with. Such chartered secretary will ensure that the firm complies with all legal and regulatory requirements, and also the internal laws, rules and regulations that has been set to keep the business moving in such decision and ensure that all board of directors decisions are carried out as well. So in this regard, company secretary are best trained as compliance officers in organizations.
All right, lastly, before we move on, what advice do you have for companies and other organizations on the issues of compliance, ma'am?
My advice for organization is that if such organization is interested in the continuity of their business, even while they are no more. Why the management, the current management are no more, such organizations should ensure that they embedded corporate governance compliance in their day-to-day activities.
Okay.
In such a way that they will not go out of the business within a short time. Thank you.
Thank you so very much, ma'am. Mrs. Omowumi Bilkis Omotoogun, ACIS. Thank you for coming to speak on compliance as a key principle in corporate governance. Coming up shortly is Mr. Kayode Ketefe, FCIS, Head of Research, ICSAN, and he'll be talking about the ways which you will say the Institute is promoting the culture of corporate governance in Nigeria.
Thank you very much, BC. Let me start by saying that members of our institute, that's the charter secretaries and governance professionals, we have established numerous private firms which service the Nigerian economy. These firms which I'm talking of, they are licensed by ICSAN and they operate under the guidelines given by ICSAN. These firms offer diverse range of corporate secretarial services, and these are services that help organizations to fulfill requirements of all aspects of compliance. The Institute also has many publications. The Institute has published many compendiums, books, and guidance notes on the theme of compliance. In addition, corporate entities can also directly approach ICSAN for guidance on any issue related to compliance. It's also remarkable that ICSAN has a training department, a very virile and vibrant training department that also constantly features themes on compliance in its training calendar. Finally, all corporate entities can also specifically request for bespoke in-plant training from the Institute. And this kind of training that I'm talking of is, of course, not only limited to the topic of compliance, but it also covers all aspects of all themes, all issues in corporate governance. So these are some of the ways the Institute has been contributing to promoting the corporate compliance culture in Nigeria. Thank you very much and have a pleasant day.
All right, and thank you so much, Mr. Kayode Ketefe, FCIS, Head of Research, ICSAN. Today on Corporate Governance Platform, we took a look at compliance as a key principle in corporate governance. And remember that I had Omowumi Bilkis Omotoogun, ACIS, and as my guest. Quite an informative moment. My name is Olabisi Omidire. Join in next week Wednesday at 10:15 for another edition of Corporate Governance Platform on Equator 9.7 FM, a program sponsored by the Institute of Chartered Secretaries and Administrators of Nigeria. Good morning.
The world is constantly evolving into a knowledge-based economy where skills and competencies constitutes the lifeblood of public and corporate governance. You therefore need to empower